I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and I submit for the approval of the Midnight Society. I saw the TV glow. It's a spooky season review, and this movie is so steeped in the 90s that shout out to Are You Afraid of the Dark? Just felt absolutely right. Yes, it's spooky season. And this film is an A24 film that is directed by Jane Schoenberg and stars Justice Smith, Bridget Lundy Payne, who was excellent on Atypical, by the way. I'm so glad that she's continuing to get work. And some interesting cast members I'll talk about in a second. It has audio description done by Deluxe, and it's narrated by Nicole Senzarella. So I know I have a lot of blind fans because I'm a blind film critic. I'm sitting here with a flashlight. This is what I'm doing for spooky season. It's either going to work or not work, and I'm recording all these in advance. So God help me. Yeah, so I saw the TV glow and flashlight fun. Yeah, I knew what I was getting myself into. The thing about A24 films, and the reason why, like, their latest one, The Front Room, is getting sort of dragged a little bit from everything I understand, is A24 usually swings artistically. Even if you don't like it, like, you can appreciate what it's doing artistically. Like on a level, it's doing something that other people aren't typically doing. It's not just like a cookie cutter right off of the assembly line type of film. It's always making fresh choices, doing new things, breaking new ground. And I saw the TV glow absolutely is doing that. This director's previous effort was We're All Going to the World's Fair, which unfortunately doesn't have audio description, so I've never seen it. But if it ever does get audio description, I would love to watch it. Yeah, unfortunately. So this is my first real taste of this director after hearing praise for their work. And I gotta say, this is a director that takes big swings. And I loved it. I was here for it. Justice Smith, also, not enough appreciation for the performance here, as Justice plays like multiple ages, like really just like a wide range of age. Justice Smith plays like the same character from like across like at least like a 10-year span, I think, is what I tracked. And it's at that year, that age too, where you change a lot. You know, when you start off sort of like in you're younger, you're still in school age, and then you're older and you're out of school. I mean, you mature quite a bit. Like your voice drops, your voice changes. He kind of has like a little bit of a squeaky voice at one point, and then gets a little bit older. So yeah, it's sort of, even with that, just an impressive performance. But I love that it's like a testament to like these canceled series and the fandoms. And back in the day, before we had even DVRs, and the best thing that we could do was pop a VHS in and set it to a certain time to record. I love that was the only way that we had to really record anything, was to if we weren't home and we needed to see our show, we had to set the timer on the VHS player, VCR, and just go and pray. And if you wanted to watch more than one thing, welp, first of all, you got to make sure that you had enough tape space, and then you really had to hope that your VCR was smart enough to be able to do or could handle multiple timers, could actually start and stop at different times. So the fact that this even tackles that a little bit, because there's a point where the main kid that Justice plays, he's not able to watch the show that sort of is centered here, and he gets a VHS tape and he takes it home and he pops it in, and I'm just like, I've totally done this. I was like, I've been this kid before. And Yeah. So and the sitting too close to the TV screen and everything like that. Yes, I've done that. I've done all that. And no, that did not lead to my blindness. This is just, I know, it's had nothing to do with it. But sit wherever you want. Um, yeah, I love this. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. The audio description from Nicole on this is mostly excellent. There are a couple scenes, but the film is so experimental at times. The music is so interesting and so I don't even know what to call it. I don't even like industrial, I guess. I don't know. It feels like it's in and of itself. It's trying to be experimental. It's definitely one of the few scores that I'll remember this year. Um, I don't know that I would uniquely remember it if somebody just started playing it. That I'd be like, oh, that was the score. I saw the TV glow. But I definitely like the whole I was sort of fascinated with like all of the just the way that the film was made. Um, and one of those even included the music. I loved the little bit of the there was even in like the original song I saw the TV glow that was like you heard it a little bit there and I was like that's not going to get an Oscar nomination, but that's kind of a cool little song there. And everything just kind of feels like it's thematically wrapped around this show. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about some of the cast later is, first of all, I do have somebody like Danielle Detweiler who's in here. I don't know why. That didn't make any sense to me. But for a film that is so steeped in like 90s culture, the fact that we have like Fred Durst in here, by the way, who, has, he's made sort of a career for himself, at least behind the camera, ever since, Limp Bizkit stopped being a thing. But there were two names that stood out to me. Now, I didn't click on everybody who was on the IMDb profile, but I nerded out immediately, and I saw immediately through these names what they were trying to do. And there were two names that popped out at me: Amber Benson and Danny Tamborelli. And if those names don't pop out at you, what the fuck are you doing on here? And why are you 12? I literally like I know my demographic. Like you can on the YouTube thing, you can actually see I have no one under the age of 35 that ever watches me. So that's a legit question. Like, how did you find me? Because YouTube says no one under the age of 35 watches me. But um, everyone in my age range should know Danny Tamborelli and Amber Benson. Danny Tamborelli was a child actor in the 90s who was really big on Nickelodeon. He started out on The Adventures of Pete and Pete. He went on to become a cast member on All That. He was used regularly on Nickelodeon's various like game shows and stuff like that. He's done voice work. He's most notably he's a voice actor for GTA 5. So yeah, he's kept it going. But Danny would be, if you could visually see, he'd be instantly recognizable to anybody who grew up in the 90s. You'd just be like, oh, that's Danny Tamborelli. It's like, yes, that's Danny Tamborelli. Um, and then Amber Benson, I love this because there's the show, the Pinko, whatever, is this sort of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque show that's also on like the Young Adult Network or something like that. That's feels very like WB-ish. I also love the fact that this show ran for 5 seasons, which is what Buffy ran for before it got picked up. It ran what it ran. It ran 5 seasons on. I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think it was 5 seasons on WB and 2 seasons on UPN. Is that right? Anyway, it got canceled and then it moved to the other of the two like mini majors. I think it was a WB and then it moved to UPN. I think that's what happened. Might have been UPN and moved to WB, but I think it was WB and moved to UPN. So I think that's exactly where the cutoff point was for Buffy, was season 5. And then they came back and they did 2 more seasons on the next network. So that was, that was sort of also a nod, but also the fact that Amber Benson, who played Tara on the show, is in the cast, really just brought that on home. I was like, Amber Benson. Okay, I got it. I got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down here, June, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Um, it's really bizarre. The audio description leans into, I would say, the more nightmarish moments. You know, when there's like character descriptions, it reflects on how we see things when we're younger and like what we think is scarier and edgier. Because he looks at something, you know, when he's young, and then he looks at it when he's older, and it's like less scary, and he's kind of cheesy, and he realizes the special effects weren't that great. And I love all of that. Like, this has such commentary on how we consume television, and for people who watch a lot of television, and for people who have loved canceled TV shows, who nerd out over um, these little like underrated gems, you know, who feel like they're the only one beating the drum for these like fan based shows, you know, before they start appearing at these conventions where we go and we get to meet the cast. And we've all had shows like that. There were shows that I loved. I mean, obviously Buffy, but I think Buffy is almost too big of a swing here. I think you really have to swing even lower to try to find really something. I would say something like Firefly is probably the best example of like a one season wonder that fans just keep talking about. Only like 13 episodes of Firefly. They ran out of order, and yet somehow against all odds that show has persisted um in and really defied uh all logic in terms of that. So I think Firefly is really probably the greatest representation of TV fans developing a cult around a show and keeping it going. I still see Firefly like trending into like the top 100 every once in a while, like on in the Apple store for TV shows. I've like downloaded, and it's like, doesn't everybody not? Has everybody not seen? It's only 13 episodes. That we, who are these people that have not? Anyway, yeah. So I was here for all that. The one thing I would say is I like the acting. I liked. Uh, I like everything that was happening. It's like looking at all of the ingredients before the meal is being made and being like, damn. And then you're looking at the meal itself and you're like, damn, that was a great, that like everything looks fantastic. You know, the movie, everything, and then you eat it and you're like, well, that was okay. I don't really ever need to eat that again. And that's kind of how I felt like I saw the TV Glow. Is like, at the end of the day, I was really impressed by a lot of the choices because they're so bold, but they're not necessarily choices that make me go, oh yeah, I really want to see this movie again. They're choices that make me go, I'm really interested in what this director's doing. I would say I would be making the same case here that people make for some other directors who I don't necessarily love their work, like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers. I think there's a lot of stuff that's said about what they do, which is they are also sort of swing big, but it doesn't necessarily mean to me that I think that their work is like like obscenely rewatchable. You know, I don't think that they have that. I don't see what other people see in their work when people praise them. I'm like, I don't ever want to see those movies like multiple times. So with I Saw the TV Glow, that's kind of how this feels. Like but to counter that, the difference between I Saw the TV Glow and something like Hereditary or The Witch is this one almost demands to be watched a second time because it is so bonkers. It's got so many little things in it that you have to like pick up along the way that you're like, what is happening in this film? Even with the audio description, I was like, and then they were trying to like explain and tie things together, and I was like, what? So like at some point I kind of feel like it's like, yeah, I got it, but I feel like maybe like I didn't get all of it. Like I feel like there's still like a part of me that's like it's so complex, and this has so many ideas stacked up on top of other ideas wrapped in ideas. And it's like, can you get it all at once? I'm a little concerned that its IMDb rating is like 5.9 because this is way better than a 5.9. Um, I don't know why. I feel like people are trolling it for some reason, and I haven't figured that out. I didn't read the IMDb reviews, but just on like filmmaker, uh, just on what she's bringing to the table as a director, it's more of an interesting film than that. Uh, people are always like, ugh, sequels, ugh, Marvel movies, ugh, why do we have to keep making these legacy sequels? What's happening here? You know, I mean, like, everybody just groans at everything that's happening all the time. And it's like, well, here's a completely original film that is doing some absolutely bonker shit. And you gave it a 5.9? You couldn't at least look at the craft that the director was putting? Because I saw the craft. I saw the TLC that was being put into this. Love Lies Bleeding is another film that I saw this year that is sort of the same way. It's like, I don't feel an immediate need to watch Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding again, but I appreciate the hell out of her filmmaking skills. You know, we talk, if you listen to anybody who's talking about the Oscars this year, they're like, oh, there aren't any female directors this year that have a shot at winning. And that's because, to be honest, nobody wants to nominate something like I Saw the TV Glow or Love Lies Bleeding. But women filmmakers are doing some extraordinary work this year in these sort of eccentric films out of nowhere. Is I Saw the TV Glow necessarily the most scary thing you'll watch this year? I don't think so. But it's got some stuff. It's got vibes. And for a lot of people, vibes is good enough sometimes. And for people who are in my age range, and for the people who apparently YouTube says are actually watching my videos, I think people will like it. I think it embraces that generation. It embraces the generation that knew what appointment television was, that literally had to like turn things down if a VCR was like broken or something, and they're like, I can't go, it's Thursday night, my show's on. You know, I mean, you used to actually hear people say that my show is on, you know, and now you really only hear it if there's like a football game, you know, like that's it. That's really the only thing that people still show up for, is they're like, no, Michigan's playing Texas tonight. I can't leave the house. You know, I mean, like that's it. And nobody actually feels the need to watch any of these shows live. Even, I would say, even like something like Grey's Anatomy, which has been on for like 20 seasons. You know, its fan base can absolutely watch that the next day, or DVR it, or, you know, binge watch it later. They have so many options, and they're doing it. And I've never heard anybody be like, I can't, my Thursdays are Grey's nights. They've been Grey's nights with the girls for 20 years. For 20 years. No, I don't think it just isn't a thing anymore. So, but it used to be. And Jane recognizes that. So, I respect the hell out of this film and the filmmaking. And even though it's not a film I want to see a second time, it's a film that feels like I have to see it a second time. So I'm glad I saw it in advance of its debut on Max. And later on, I'll probably watch it again on Max and be like, oh yeah, okay. Yep, I saw what you were doing with that. Yep, okay, now that makes more, you know, it's so complex, and I love it. I love complex directing should be appreciated more. We don't need to have, not everything needs to be a desert island film. A lot of films are just one-time watches, and they're great. Zone of Interest. I never need to see Zone of Interest again, but I know it's a great film. So, I liked this. I saw the TV Glow. I'm going to give it an A-. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.